Today's the morning. We're planting potatoes. We've got all these potato seeds, which are just potatoes. And what we're doing is we're cutting them up into little pieces. And so one potato will give us maybe 4 different plants. And if you look real close, that little spot right there is an eye or a sprout. And so you want to make sure that each piece that you cut has a little eye so it can sprout up a plant. So a medium potato will cut into 4. Some of the smaller ones you just cut in half, and if they're real big, you can cut them up in 6. There's our little eyes, as they call them. Those little spots, the little buds that are going to sprout. One cool thing about a potato too is that as you cut it, you can see it's real juicy. And so this potato is carrying enough water content that the plant is going to eat off of this chunk for a while. It'll sprout itself and kind of water itself for a little bit. And this chunk, when the plant's big, you'll see this part shriveled up when you harvest. And so the potato's just going to eat off this little chunk of potato. So this is our old 2-row potato planter that we actually don't use anymore. It's just on display. But it does plant very well. We're going to actually use this newer planter that we have. It's also a 2-row planter, but it has another row of bins, and that's for fertilizer. So you can do multiple steps as you plant. You can actually drop the fertilizer in and then plant the potato and then bury the potato. So this machine is extremely helpful. You won't need any fertilizer today, so what we're doing is cutting up the potatoes, loading them in the bin, and now we're ready to watch how this machine puts them in the ground. So you may have noticed on the back of the machine there's actually a chair. So someone does sit there and just make sure the potatoes are evenly spread throughout the 4 slots here, and just make sure the machine's feeding good. Also have to watch very carefully the depth. So you see the back of the machine just lowered and it's making these hills. So if we plant the potatoes too shallow, we plant them before the last frost date, so there's a potential that they could get frosted and rot. And if you plant them too deep, the sunlight actually can't reach in and warm them up to germinate them. So it's kind of this fine balance of where to bury them, but there's a slight dimple at the top there. We're not actually making peaked hills, just covering them enough. Now this machine won't come into play till we are actually harvesting the potatoes. This is a 1-row potato digger or harvester, and there's a blade at the front and a chain that digs under the potatoes. The chain kind of carries the potatoes on the top and lets the dirt fall through. And then the potatoes fall off the back, and then your row has basically been turned upside down. The potatoes are now on top of the ground. This is the same thing, only for 2 rows at a time, so you can get a lot more potatoes turned up than just the 1 row. So now that we've planted these Yukon Gold potatoes on, April 5th, we're going to wait a little bit, and we should be getting the first ones maybe in mid-June. And they'll be a little bit smaller. They'll be what's considered new potatoes, where the skin is really thin and they don't have barely any starch, and they're just wonderful tasting potato. Now my last note today on potatoes is just a word of caution that if there's anything that you eat organic, make sure that potatoes is one of them. I'm not recommending changing your whole diet, but potatoes are especially saturated in sprout nips and different things. They use chemicals very heavily on potatoes for the big conventional farms. So we grow them organically. There's nothing bad in them whatsoever, and these potatoes are actually very, very healthy. My father-in-law, who has diabetes, actually eats our potatoes, and his blood sugar is just fine. So I know that's just one case study, but if you make a test of your own and see how they make you feel, organic potatoes really make a difference. Say yeah. 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 Watch your step. Watch your step.